redemption songs, redemption songs.
We are miners, hard rock miners. To the shaft house we must go. Haul your bottles on our shoulders. We are marching to the slope. On the line, boys, on the line, boys, drill your holes and stand in line till the shift boss comes to tell you you must drill her out on time. Can't you feel the rock dust in your lungs? It'll cut down a miner when he is still young. 2 years and the silicosis takes hold, and I feel like I'm dying from mining for gold. Yes, I feel like I'm dying from mining for gold.
You fill up my senses like a night in a forest, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. You fill up my senses, come fill me again. Come, let me love you, let me give my life to you. Let me drown in your laughter, let me die in your arms. Let me lay down beside you, let me always be with you. Come, let me love you, come love me again. Like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. You fill up my senses, come fill me again.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Patterson family, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here this evening. We're here today to bless and to honor and to love the life, the light, and the love of Ann Patterson. Ann was and remains a friend to every single person she met. As we prepared for today, there was not a person who did not say that phrase on their lips. She never met someone who was not a friend. We're here to celebrate Ann's life and to recognize the impact that she made upon this world and upon each and every one of us as we wish her Godspeed. Godspeed, dear heart, on your next adventure of living, of loving. None of us are here by accident today. Not one of us is in this room by accident, but we're here because Ann meant the world to us. She touched us all in a very profound, in a very deep way, and we want to say thank you to her, to the presence and power of God, for that precious gift of the life that Ann shared with us. Let gratitude for that gift be at the forefront of everything we say today, everything we feel. Let gratitude be at the forefront of every thought that crosses our minds, even as we grieve and say goodbye. We are also here today to support, to love, and to hold Ann's beautiful family in our hearts, to be the hands of God to hold them, to be the ears of God to listen, and to be the heart of God to comfort them. Dave and Chris, Michael, Sarah, Devin, Joseph, and all. Joseph, I think, is in Spain, yes? He's tuning in right now. We hope that you all can feel the warmth and the embrace of this congregation, of this gathering, because we love you as dearly as we love Ann. Most importantly, today we are here to reaffirm our faith in eternal life as we bless Ann, that kind, beautiful, compassionate, loving soul, on her next adventure of living. There are so many pieces to today's service, and this is a testimony to and a reflection of the many ways that Ann has blessed this earthly realm. It's also a reflection, as we have talked about over and over again, that she's still working her magic from a much higher realm of being. Dave's going to talk about a little bit, but things that we didn't think were possible when we met, everything fell into place. And each time we said, thank you, Ann, we're paying attention. She orchestrated all the moving pieces for today's service. One of those things is having representatives from the Drepung Losling Monastery. That was very, very important to the Patterson family, and as you all know, very important to Ann. She orchestrated every year the visit from the monks from Drepung Losling to do their beautiful art, and their chanting, their spirit, and to bring their light and their love into this place. You never got in her way when the monks from Drepung Losling were coming. I know because I did once. It only happened once. Her association with them was very meaningful, and she treated that volunteer job with the utmost of care. Well, actually, Ann treated every job she did with the utmost of care. So it's only fitting that one of the miracles that Ann has worked out, and I want to commend the gentleman from Drepung Losling. There was not a hesitation when we mentioned Ann's name to be here. So I'm going to invite them to come forward to offer a blessing. And Geshe Pende, we are honored to have your presence and your brothers here. Here at the microphone, please come forward.
zo be san je re ba da sha zo den ba de wa ra je ba ji de gen ba ki wo de ka lo jo wa la na me wa la da me na je den ba san je chun den de pe ja sha ja do ba la sha se lo che do ja zo je de je sha ba da zhong ba yang da ba zo be san je re ba da sha zo den ba de wa ra she ba ji de gen ba ki wo de ve ha lo jo wa la na me ba la da me na je den ba san je chun den de be ja sha ja do ba la sha se lo che na ja zo je ke dan ze sa je de la kong ba de bo ne nga ne ji de na cho je so de ze je ba je cha e ze lo na da ko nga cho do so sa wa ye je ja zo se je le mo do cha ba ji de so na na me wa kong bo ju ni je la cha e ze lo zen jo de ba te me da we je se do zha wa ju la cha e ze lo de de ju zha se ma su ma che nya me je 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 la cha e ze lo gong bo du ji jin dian ba dan ji jin be den ba bu so na yun de jiao zu xie de xie xie la cha e ze lo de bo ji yang zhe wa ju ke we ni song de zhuo xie jie duo de na chu ju ba xie ju je la cha e ze lo zhu ne zhu yue la yang de la ba da la ra du ne xin jie dang ba yun de de gin de la yang cha e ze lo de ba ji yang mi cha xie ge wo bin zu zo ba jie rang ge sim ne yong su de ne san jie den ba ye ka ma ra re ma me da yu ma se ba chu da me la lo da jin da bo de ji chu na de da ran da sun na de dang ji se ba ye gong ba du ne yun ji da du de ka da na da ji we da du de se be zu le du du wa ra ju Chancho lo ne do bara chi ta yu jo ne ne mo zhu zu la shuo mi zhuo xi zhuo na zhu zhuo di ji cuo na bi zhuo le zuo yi yu ji. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Geshe Pende. Your presence and your prayers, your chants and your hearts present here today make a huge difference. Thank you. Today is a time of celebration for a courageous and a loving life, fully and well lived. In Galatians chapter 5, it says, the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That, in a nutshell, is Ann Patterson right there. She bore a lot of fruit on earth. These are the qualities that she brought to life and to her every endeavor, to her family, to this congregation, and to everyone who crossed her path. We celebrate those qualities today and 1,000 more with a deep knowledge that these qualities are everlasting. They do not die. They only expand. They become greater. And so we can celebrate that expansion today, even as we grieve for the physical form that she used to use to share those qualities with this world. Today we are very saddened that someone very precious has gone from our sight, but only from our sight. Anne is just as alive as she has ever been, and just as available to each and every one of us at a spiritual level. Ours is to seek her there. We are spirits eternally beginning and end, and so our job is to meet her at the level of spirit. She's waiting. She's waiting to listen. She's speaking. Dave already says he's been having conversations through birds. Keep listening to the birds. We can draw comfort from these truths. Let us remember Anne today and the goodness that she brought to this earth and to all of our hearts. And let us rejoice in the goodness that she is continuing to share at a much higher vibration and level of expression. In the light of truth, we know it was not Anne's body that commanded our love and our respect or our admiration. Rather, it was the qualities that were housed by that body. She used it, and she used it well, as an instrument of God's work during her earthly life, a vessel bearing gifts to everyone that she touched, and she touched many. Gifts of tenderness, gentility, kindness, compassion, care, and love. Gifts of dedication, hard work, perseverance, and strength. Gifts of organization. She made the Virgo look like I was a mess. She was so organized. Gifts of laughter and play and deep, deep spiritual awareness. Through her earthly vessel, Anne garnered very rich and necessary experiences here on earth to take to her next life expression. And now she's laid that body down. She doesn't need it anymore as she continues her mission elsewhere in our loving God's house of energy, of spirit, and of light. In the Gospel of John, we read, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you may also be where I am." Anne is living in a place of goodness, a place of peace and harmony and light that has been lovingly prepared just for her. And as I counseled her in her last years, but before that, many, many times, Anne, receive. The place has been prepared just for you. Allow yourself to not just be the giver, but to be the receiver. And that lesson is in full bloom here today. I can still hear Anne's warm voice echoing in the very walls of this building, as I know that her sweet spirit is reverberating in the hearts of all who know her, miss her, and love her. The reverberation is eternal. Listen, feel it, know it. To illustrate those eternal echoes and vibrations, we have two very special presentations for today. I'm going to invite Michael Burke to come forward and to read a poem, and Jen Cornell, who was part of a duo that they were the best band in the world, Montana Skies, and we have half of them here. So I'm going to invite Jen Cornell and Michael Burke to come forward to read a poem. And then Jen was a little nervous because this is a rousing piece that she's going to play. And Anne would have it no other way. Over here, Michael.
Loss as profit. Death. Death is something only the living have to deal with. Those who've passed are busy being reborn. As the morning dew on fertile flowers that grace our souls with the renaissance of smell, of scent. Some are just too beautiful to be confined to a body. They are meant to be shared. They are among the mist that forms the clouds, for to rain upon us purely peace. They are in the very air that we breathe. And each breath, each and every breath, divine. Anne moved us through her existence. Now her existence moves through us. Because she shared with us a life of love. We now live our lives with love to share.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Michael. Ann is smiling on both counts. Stories are healing, memories are healing, and they must be told. They invite laughter and tears, and they wrap us in the truth that we are eternally and immortally connected in the power and legacy of stories that will live on forever. We're going to open up now the sharing portion of our service by inviting Ann's beloved son, Chris, to come up with Sarah and Devin to begin our time of sharing.
Thank you all for being here. I only have a few words, and then I'll pass it on. So words. Words can be meaningless. Words can also change the direction of your life. I pray that I have the right words for this moment. Mom always had the right words. If you were lucky, she would share them with you. I can't count the number of times Mom corrected me from lay down to lie down, or I don't know, maybe it was the other way. I guess that's still a lesson I need to learn. But even if they weren't the words you wanted to hear, they were definitely the words that you needed to hear. And I'll miss hearing those words out loud. And I pray that I'll still hear those words in my soul. And hopefully you'll hear those words as well. We'll just have to listen a little harder, a little closer. It is well. All is well. It's all good. It doesn't feel very good right now, and that's okay. I miss you, Mom. And I always will.
I know you can't pick your in-laws, but if you could, I would pick Anne 100 times. I basically won the mother-in-law jackpot when Anne invited me to be a part of her family. I met Anne the summer that I was 19 because I had started dating her eldest son, Chris. The first night that we met, we all had a few drinks together at a little dive bar called the Red Onion, and the next day I was so embarrassed and shy that I didn't say anything to her, which made her think that I didn't like her. And it became this whole thing that had to be sorted out. But of course it got sorted out because Anne is just the definition of no judgment zone. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was the night that Anne invited me to become part of her family. About 6 months later, I made my first visit to Georgia to stay with the Pattersons. And one morning I woke early and I went downstairs where I joined Anne for coffee and breakfast. We'd been talking for about an hour when Chris finally woke up and came crashing down the stairs, absolutely terrified that we had been talking about him, his new girlfriend and his mom. And Anne assured him that we hadn't been, saying, "Oh, no, Chris, we definitely weren't talking about you." And it was the truth, but in that moment we had a little private joke, this fun sense of togetherness and a feeling of belonging. A family. Years later, when I was pregnant with our daughter, Anne took me aside and said in the kindest way possible, "Chris was a 12-pound baby. Just be prepared." And naturally, I went into immediate denial, but I knew that I was joining her family in a permanent and possibly very big way. When that baby, Devin, was 3 months old, we came to stay with me and Papa. And one of those nights, as a brand new, exhausted mother, I dragged myself out of bed once again when I heard the baby fussing. But when I arrived in her room, Anne was already there. I apologized profusely that she'd been awakened, that I would take over, that I was so sorry for the disturbance. And she looked at me and she said, "Never apologize for needing help. We're family. That's what we're here for." And years after that, on another visit, Anne, David, and I stayed up until 6 a.m. playing Boo-Ray, which probably won't surprise a lot of you. It's a card game, and I don't know if you have to yell Boo-Ray all night long, but we did, and we laughed ourselves silly. And as we stumbled to bed, Anne gave me a huge hug in the upstairs hallway, and she said, "No matter what happens, no matter what, we are family." Chris wasn't there that night, and he was convinced we'd spent the whole night talking about him. And Anne said, "Let him think so. Keep him on his toes." I could tell you 100 stories, probably 1,000. You don't have to be blood related to Anne to be her family. Over the years, I bet you have all been included in that ever-widening circle. She told me once that she always wanted a big family, and so she just made one for herself. And it has been the honor and privilege of a lifetime to be a part of it.
Family was so important to Mimi. Everyone knows this went far beyond blood. A lot of you were lucky enough to be part of her chosen family for life. And she grew up an only child like me. So when I would spend the summers at her house, she would make sure all the days were full of fun and adventures and lots of late nights like any grandparent should. And when her mom, Cornelia, passed away, I was very, very young, and I don't remember it. But I was able to carry her memory with me through a paper butterfly that had come from the service. So I encourage you all to take a paper dragonfly. Right now, the basket is up at the front with the registry book. And take it with you in Anne's memory. My Mimi had the biggest heart and an even bigger smile, and she taught me to look for fairies in the flowers. And she told me if I ever needed her, I could put my right hand on my left shoulder and my left hand on my right shoulder. It's a big hug from me to you. She's the best Mimi I could ever have asked for, and I will miss her so much.
I'd like to invite Anne's other son, Michael, to come forward, and joining him is Erica.
Hey, everybody. I've got the privilege of reading a passage from one of Mom's adopted sons. She had a couple of those. You guys are here tonight, too. This adopted son is specifically Joseph Muhammad Gallegos. He was a guy that when Mom was on a medical mission down in Peru, he was kind of their translator, tour guide, kind of catch-all. So he wrote these words in memoriam. So it's dedicated to Anne Armstrong Patterson, a wonderful woman. Mornings should be glorious. As the sun rises, one expects a beautiful day, but terrible news has changed everything. With the blink of an eye, your day has changed from victory to tragedy. Silence all around me while I try to assimilate what happened. I ask myself, why does life take away what you most love? I guess God only knows the answer. And I've got more, but Erica is going to speak that passage in Spanish for us. We're going to go back and forth.
Ann Patterson era no solamente una mujer extraordinaria, pero también una esposa, una madre, una abuela y una mejor amiga. Ella era mi guía y mi ángel guardiana, y así será hasta mis últimos días. Mamá, mientras yo estoy escribiendo esas palabras con lágrimas en la cara, me siento muy frustrado no poder estar allá a honorarte y poder despedirme de ti en una manera más formal.
So, Ann Patterson was not only an extraordinary woman, but also a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a best friend. She was my guide and my guardian angel, and she'll continue to be until my last days. Mama, while I'm writing these words with tears on my face, I feel very frustrated not being able to be there to honor you and to be able to say goodbye in a more formal way. I guess that's the price you pay for living away from your loved ones. And it's very hard to accept that you're gone, knowing that I'll never get to hug you anymore, to let you know how much I do love you. I miss you already. It's often said that only time can appease the pain, but it will never replace the emptiness you left.
Supongo que eso es la precia que una paga por vivir lejos de sus queridos. Es demasiado difícil aceptar que ya no estés, saber que jamás podré abrazarte, decirte cuánto te quiero. Yo te extraño demasiado. Con frecuencia está dicho que solamente el tiempo puede curar el dolor, pero nunca jamás puede reemplazar el vacío que dejaste.
So I want to end these words by thanking the Pattersons, for whom I feel great respect, affection, and unconditional love. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my feelings here with all of you.
Quiero terminar estas palabras con agradecer a los Pattersons, a quienes siento mucho respeto, afección y amor sin condiciones. Muchas gracias por dejarme compartir mis sentimientos aquí con todos ustedes.
So just off the cuff, I didn't really prepare anything for myself, but it's been kind of cool seeing some of the parts of Mom's life that I didn't get to experience before. Love hearing the monks and your tribute, and Jen playing, and Michael's poetry. So it's really kind of nice seeing a different aspect of Mom.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Joseph, all the way across the ocean. In this community, you could not utter the name Ann Patterson without saying David Patterson, Mutt and Jeff, yin and yang, coffee and cream. They were inseparable, and today we know that they are absolutely inseparable. We're going to allow Dave to come up, and I've encouraged him to feel what he needs to feel. Because, brother, all the love that's poured out to your beloved Ann is poured out here in this community for you as well. Please come forward.
Blue, Ann's favorite color. Sorry. So when Richard first suggested I say something tonight, I said, oh, no way. But immediately, I knew I had to say something to honor Ann. I met Ann when we were both working in New Orleans at a hospital 50 or so years ago. 47 of those were married years. Yeah, we were a hospital romance. Some of you know the story, how Ann moved from Jackson, Mississippi after nursing school. She was encouraged by a married couple, Tom and Sandy, Sandy being a classmate and one of Ann's best friends. That's a phrase you will hear a lot. one of Anne's best friends. It seems that if you spent any time with Anne, you became one of Anne's best friends. I later learned that Anne had told Tom and Sandy that they would have to introduce her to guys so she could date. Tom was an x-ray tech, as was I at the time, and we were working together on evening shift. Not much going on. And Tom, in his low-key, nonchalant Mississippi manner, says, "Oh, there's a friend of mine who works in SICU, coming down to meet you." Now, if he had said, "My friend's coming down to talk to me," Tom, I would have stuck around. But as it was, I saw Anne at the far end of the hallway, and I exited through the side door. I said, "This girl looks like trouble." It took me a full year to get to the point that I would call Anne, but when I called, she was never home. She was out dating other guys. Now, at the time, I had a 3-strike rule. I would call a girl 3 times, and if I was unsuccessful at reaching her, I would move on. I remember this event as calling Anne 3 times. But Anne would tell you I called 5. She's probably right, as with most things. And as it turned out, I'm definitely glad I was persistent. What I wrote was, at this point, my remarks might slow down. They already have slowed down. I've developed a technique of taking in a deep breath to get one word out as I exhale. While I get my emotions in check. How am I doing? So what do you say about the love of your life? Let me start with the Bible verse and where it came from. I have no idea where it came from. Galatians 5:22.5. Over the past year, we've been taking notes. I've been taking notes because both Ann and I knew this day was coming. So this verse was in my notes, origins unknown. But it's a description of someone who's full of spirit, and that's Anne. It reads, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love," which describes Anne, joy, Anne, peace, Anne, forbearance. I took some license with this word and focused on the spelling, picking bear out of forbearance. Describe a man who could be a mama bear when it came to her kids and to the monks. Then there's kindness and goodness. You guessed it, Anne. Faithfulness and gentleness and self-control, mostly Anne. I think that's a perfect description. They say grief gets easier. I know this to be true. Because Jeffrey, my 20-year-old son, passed from a gunshot wound he received on April 24th, 2001. As you know, Ann also passed on April 24th. I was standing with Ann next to her bed, going to the bathroom, but she took a step and said, "No, I can't make it." And I said, "Okay, we'll go back to the bed." She looked over my shoulder at the corner of the ceiling. She had a quizzical look on her face, like she was seeing something she didn't quite understand. I now believe it was Jeffrey coming to take her home. Because in the next moment, she collapsed. I'm going to finish now by recounting a story from last week. Ann has a cousin living in Colorado whose name happens to be Dave. I received a sympathy card from Dave's wife, Linda. Dave and Linda have become very close to Ann and me. We invited them to go to Peru with Unity. Some of you may remember them. Linda and Ann were self-proclaimed sisters. Neither one of them actually had a biological sister, but they call each other sis. Linda sent a sympathy card which had a blue dragonfly on the cover. And as I already told you, blue is her favorite color. And the symbolization of the dragonfly made me cry. It didn't take much. The message was poignant, and it got me into a mood to think deeply about Ann. Ann believed we have a duty to hold the light in this world, which is something she did every day of her life. When it was time for Ann to go, she took her light and she went home. May we all bask in the memory of that brilliant light. You're loved, Ann Armstrong Patterson. And I speak for all of us.
David, thank you for your courage and your strength. I felt Ann's spirit, honored, blessed, and deeply touched. The best way to honor Ann Patterson's life is to take that light that touched us so deeply that we've just heard about and to go share it. To take that light and not just think about it, not just feel it, but to be the ambassador of that light everywhere you go. And in doing so, we honor Ann's legacy. We're going to have an opportunity downstairs at the reception to have some more sharing, but we're going to move forward. And I invite you to bring your stories of Ann, of the light that she brought to you, down to the reception downstairs. Prayer is the language of spirit. It is unlimited by time and by space. And no soul is ever beyond its power and beyond its reach. And oftentimes when death comes, even when it is expected, it leaves unfinished business. Words that you wish you had spoken. Emotions that you wish you had expressed. Let us know as we enter a time of reflection. I'm going to invite Jen to come back and Michael to come back as well. That we can speak those words in the sacred sanctuary of the oneness that exists eternally and immortally. To say those words and express those emotions in the sanctuary of our heart, that Anne, she will forever dwell in that sanctuary. Jen is going to play a piece to lead us into the stillness, and then Michael will be playing some of the sacred bowls. That's an important ministry here at Unity North that Anne loved. At that point, I will invite the funeral home to come forward during the bowls and to close the casket. I invite you to speak what needs to be spoken in this moment. as Michael continues to play. Death creates separation, but it also creates gatherings of loved ones who, in facing death, may create new openings and new devotion to life, to living, to love, and to caring. As we finish today, let us remember to savor and to celebrate each other, to savor each breath as the precious gift that it is. Let us find goodness in the most mundane tasks of life and find God in each other, in every moment, and in ourselves. This honors Anne's life. It is here that we shall find comfort. It is here we shall find the peace that we seek. It is here that we honor Anne's legacy. Let us all be mindful and present to the Patterson family in the days, the weeks, the months to come. Many of us are going to go back into our lives, into a normal. For the Patterson family, life will never be normal again. They will find a new normal, and they will need our care, our call, our note, our love, our presence to just be with them in the silence. Especially reach out to Dave. He is finding that new normal, and it will not be easy, and he needs all of us. He needs us as his family and as his friends. Before I conclude, let me just say, Dave, your devotion and your care for Anne has been a ministry to me. It has been to everyone who knows you and to everyone who's ever known Anne. From the minute you two walked through these doors, the two of you ministered, and the two of you will continue to minister at a high level. And we know that you are safe. We know that you are secure in God and the life that is endless. We do not say goodbye to you, but rather Godspeed. We are one in spirit, and knowing this, we release you and let you go on to your new experience of living. We behold you now as God sees you, as the ever-living, ever-loving, ever-radiant child of light that you have always been. And we release you to your highest good, with grateful thanks for having blessed our lives. Please join me in a final prayer. Loving Spirit, we give thanks that you strengthen us and you'll lead us on our way as we make our adjustments in the days to come. We give thanks for your guidance, for your love, and your peace that passes all understanding. And now a special song by Josh Groban before we conclude.
Who can say for certain? Maybe you're still here. I feel you all around me. Your memory so clear. Deep in the stillness, I can hear you speak. You're still an inspiration. Can it be that you are mine forever, love? And you are watching over me from up above. Fly me up to where you are, beyond a distant star. I wish upon tonight to see you smile, if only for a while to know you're there. sleeping here inside my dream. And isn't faith believing all power can't be seen? As my heart holds you just one beat away, I cherish all you gave me every day. 'Cause you are mine, forever love, watching me from above. And I believe that angels breathe, and that love will live on and never leave. Fly me up to where you are, beyond the distant star. I wish upon tonight to see you smile, if only for a while to know you're there. A breath away is not far to where you are. I know you're there. A breath away is not far to where you are.
You all please rise. And those that know the prayer, please pray it with me. Dearest Anne, the light of God surrounds you, sacred, beautiful, and true. This concludes our service, but we invite follow Anne's body out as we sing Wonderful World, Louis Armstrong, and it is a wonderful world. Let that song be on our lips. As soon as we are outside, we invite you to come join us downstairs to the left out from the foyer. Thank you for being here this evening. Go in peace.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They're like much more than I ever knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.